If you think you know Africa, there's a good chance you don't actually know Africa. You know a set of images, news headlines, movies, travel ads. In most Western media, Africa is usually framed in extremes, either its constant crisis or its pure exotic safari. So today, let's break down 10 of the most common myths about Africa and what's actually true instead. Let's start with myth number 1. Africa is basically one country. It sounds silly, but it shows up constantly in the way people talk. They say in Africa, like it's one place with one culture and one level of development. Compare Morocco in the north, with its Arab and Amazigh influences and strong links to Europe, to Ethiopia, with its highlands and its own distinct state tradition. Compare Nigeria, one of the continent's giants with a huge population and many languages, to South Africa, which has major cities and industrial capacity, but also a uniquely complicated social legacy. Saying Africa is like this is like saying Europe is like this, and pretending Norway, Italy, and Romania are basically the same place. Africa is a continent of 54 countries, and the differences can be massive. Myth number 2. Africa is uniformly poor. Yes, poverty is real in parts of the continent, but uniformly is the key word, and it's wrong. Botswana is often mentioned as a case where governance and institutions have been comparatively stable over time. Meanwhile, some countries and regions struggle far more because of conflict, weak institutions, or long-term instability. Even within one country, the gap between a major city and rural areas can be enormous. So here's what I mean with a few examples. Look at South Africa. It has major cities, industrial capacity, and infrastructure. But it also has deep inequality and a complicated social legacy. So even in one country, you can have modern development in some places and serious hardship in others. Or consider Kenya. Kenya is often associated with fast-growing cities and innovation, especially in mobile services. But that doesn't mean everyone benefits equally. The difference between urban centers and rural areas can be stark. Development can be real, and poverty can still exist at the same time. Reality: economic conditions vary drastically between countries, and even within the same country. Myth number 3. Africa is a continent of non-stop wars. This myth survives because the news covers conflict, not normal life. Crisis gets headlines. Ordinary stability doesn't. There are countries that have been relatively stable for years. Senegal is often pointed to as one of the more stable democracies in West Africa. Ghana is frequently mentioned for its political stability and peaceful transfers of power. At the same time, there are regions where instability is real. Parts of the Sahel or eastern DR Congo. The problem is when the world takes those hotspots and treats them like the entire continent. Reality: conflicts exist, but they don't define the daily reality of most countries all the time. Myth number 4. Before Europe arrived, Africa had no complex states or civilizations. This was useful to colonial propaganda. West Africa had powerful empires and major trade routes. Ethiopia has its own long state tradition. Great Zimbabwe is another well-known example of complex societies in southern Africa. Development looked different in different places, just like it did in Europe and Asia. But the idea that nothing existed until Europe showed up is simply false. Reality: many regions of Africa had states, trade networks, cities, diplomacy, and political systems long before colonization. Myth number 5. Africa has no technology. In countries like Kenya, mobile money became part of everyday economic life. Rwanda is often discussed as a country trying to modernize quickly with organized reforms and tech-forward projects. A phone can be a bank, a marketplace, a business tool, and a lifeline. Reality: in many places, Africa has skipped steps and jumped straight into mobile-first systems. Myth number 6. Africans all speak one African language. Reality: Africa is one of the most linguistically diverse places on Earth, and multilingualism is normal. Swahili is widely used in parts of East Africa. Hausa is a major language in West Africa. Amharic is central in Ethiopia. And official languages like English, French, Portuguese, and Arabic are used in many countries. Myth number 7. Africa is basically safari, deserts, and jungles. Reality: Africa is also cities, fast-growing megacities, ports, universities, business districts, and modern neighborhoods. Lagos is a megacity and major economic engine. Nairobi is often described as a business and tech hub. Johannesburg is a major urban center. Myth number 8, Africa doesn't produce anything. It only exports raw materials. Reality, Africa is part of global supply chains, and industrial development varies by country. South Africa has industrial and processing sectors. Morocco is often discussed for export-oriented industrial clusters. Ethiopia has made efforts to develop manufacturing zones. The deeper question is where the value stays. Processing, logistics, and branding often happen elsewhere. Myth number 9. All of Africa's problems are only caused by colonialism. Colonialism mattered. Borders and institutions were shaped by it. But only is wrong. Reality, outcomes usually come from multiple factors. Governance, institutions, elite competition, global market shocks, demographics, and sometimes climate stress. Comparing Botswana and DR Congo is often used to show how institutions and power structures shape results. Myth number 10. Africa is about the past, not the future. Reality, Africa is one of the world's youngest continents in terms of population, which shapes cities, labor markets, culture, technology, and global influence. Urbanization is accelerating. Markets are growing. African music and culture are global. Mobile-first services reshape daily life. Africa is not just history. It's a major part of the world's future. Write in the comments which myth surprised you the most.